Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Season 2 Summit for 2026 is here. And with it, of course, we have our newest hero, the DPS hero, Sierra. So let's jump in, let's take a look at her abilities, and then of course I will give my thoughts on her over some gameplay, and we'll give a full look at the hero. So let's go. There we go. So, pull up her kit real quick if you want to take a look at it. But Sierra, our newest DPS hero, she is a person associated with Helix Security. She worked or works for Helix Security. Of course, the same group that Farah used to work for. She is a hero from Virginia. She's an American hero. Another American DPS hero. We only have DPS heroes. You can see here she is a part of the recon sub-role in the damage role, so she has that passive where damaging enemies below half health reveals them. So there we go. We're going to start by taking a look at her Helix rifle, her primary fire. You can see it here. It is an automatic assault weapon that shoots in a spiral pattern, gaining accuracy with sustained fire. So, just going to show you what that looks like. We'll stand about 10 meters away. You can see as we begin to shoot, it will start on the outside, and then it kind of, goes in and shoots in this kind of spiral pattern. If you're standing far enough back, you can actually shoot people with the spread before it tightens. And if you want to not be able to shoot a tracer, you can, before you get the spread going inward. So that is her primary fire. You can see it. Obviously, it does crit, so you can do body shots, or you can do crits. It's pretty good. Her next ability is her tracking shot, which marks an enemy, and Helix rifle shots automatically track the marked enemies. You can see the damage and stuff there, so you can see you can shoot it, and it will shoot that target. You notice as well, it does not crit, so don't expect to get crits with it. I think it's best used to try to shoot moving targets like that. Much easier to kind of ensure they are going to die. So heroes like Wrecking Ball, potentially, or like Winston if he doesn't have Bubble, Diva, stuff like that, where they're flying around, or like a Junkrat, or Junkrat, I guess. But I meant Jetpack Cat, Farah, stuff like that, where they're moving around more. If you can hit that tracking shot, you're going to get much more sustainable and easy to hit damage, but you don't get crit, so it doesn't do a ton of damage. You have to be able to sustain it for a while, and it is kind of easy to get behind cover and not take shots, but it does at least have usefulness in that way. Next is her shift ability, the Anchor Drone, and this is probably the biggest part of her kit, the main kind of anchor, if you will, of her kit. You can see here, you launch an Anchor Drone, and you reactivate to grapple to it. So, there's the drone. That's Dorothy. We're going to dash up like that. You see it has two uses, so we can kind of move around, we can shoot a bit, and then we can go right back to where we were. You can also destroy it manually with F if you want to do that. So, that is how that works. Next is the Tremor Charge. That's the wrong menu screen. You throw a charge that creates a shockwave on impact. So, you can see it here. I'm going to try to do as much as I can. It doesn't do a ton of damage. It is, I think, it can do damage on the ground. It actually shoots it outward and forward, right? So it's not really as good. I would argue if you throw it like against a wall, it doesn't really do the majority of what it can do. It's best thrown kind of on the feet of people to get that kind of wave. Ideally, the closer the better, because it does do more damage on the inside, as you can see. 100 damage on the inner shockwave, 60 on the outer shockwave. So that's kind of where it is the best. But you can definitely use it for whatever means you have to deal damage. And then our final main ability is, of course, her ultimate, Trailblazer. Deploys a drone that flies forward and drops explosives. Let's check that out. Let's blow some people up. Well, doesn't that sound fun? I'm going to try to blow up as many of these as I can. We'll see if it works. Okay, we killed that one and that one. We did decent damage to that one. So that's just how it works. I think it's probably best used in concert with like a Hazard ult, a Freya ult potentially, a Malga ult, something where people are kind of stuck together, maybe a Mei ult. I think that's kind of where it will be the best. But I also think she builds it very quickly, so I think you also can treat it similarly to a Freya ult a lot of the time, or a Tracer ult sometimes, where you do just kind of throw it in there and you see what you can do with it. I think that is a big use case for it as well, which is one of the things I think is pretty good about it, which is nice to see. Finally, still go take a look at her perks. I'm going to be honest with you, this is the third time I've filmed this video because I keep having audio problems. So I should be a master at this by now, and I'm not. So you can see her two minor perks here. We have Full Flight, which increases anchor drone, flight, and grapple ranges by 25%, and Tight Grip, which makes it where the Helix Rifle's bullet spread tightens 100% faster and widens 30% slower. So we're going to start by looking at this first one, and to show you how far you can go, we're going to go to the spot that actually has the distances on it. So we'll stand at 40 meters, and we'll shoot the shift out, and we'll see how far we can go. So it takes us to here, about 20 meters. Let's go back to the 40 meters. Let's take that perk, and let's see how far we can get now. So now we're over 20 meters. So it's not a huge difference on the ground. I think in the air it's a little bit more clear. But that's that. And then her major perks, you have Medi Drone, where the anchor drones hold a med kit that can heal Sierra, or Locked In, where firing the tracking shot increases your attack speed by 20% for 2 seconds. So while we're on the drone, let's take the drone perk. Take a little bit of damage. Oh no, I'm hurt. I'm getting shot at. Ah. Heal me. And then she does. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? Let's take a look at the other two perks real quick. So, for the bullet spread tightening 100% faster and widening 30% slower, here's kind of the normal shot. Alright, and then with Tight Grip, you can see it gets a little bit closer faster. And then for Locked In, the firing tracking shot increases your attack speed by 20 seconds. So here's the normal fire rate. And then here's the fire rate after you shoot the tracking shot. So you can tell it is... I forgot to hit the perk. So normal. And faster. So noticeably faster firing rate. You can definitely really kill targets. And of course, most of the people who are going to be using this are going to be doing this and then shooting, which is, you know, the more kind of prudent way of doing it. So interesting kind of set of perks. We're going to jump in and talk more about my kind of in-depth thoughts on her kit and, you know, after having played some games with her, but I definitely have my preferences on that. So why don't we jump in to that and talk about the hero now that I have had some time to play as her. All right, having played a couple games as Sierra, I feel like I have a pretty okay idea of my thoughts and feelings on her as a hero. And overall, I don't think she feels particularly strong at the moment. I think if you can find the tracking with the tracking shot, if you can nail those shots, that to me is really the thing she does best. I find it kind of hard to hit, which I think is kind of the point. Like, I wish there was an ADS on it. I understand why there's not. It just feels kind of weird to use at times. It took me a little bit of getting used to. I guess it's kind of similar to On a Sleep Dart in that way. Like, I think it's pretty easy to just, like, take the shot and totally miss in the same way that you kind of do with the Sleep Dart. I guess that's probably the most similar ability I can think of in the game. But I will say, like, this gameplay you're watching here, this was the third game I played as her. Usually, the theme in these videos is that the first game is always, like, the worst game. Or the first game is always the best game somehow, and then I get better in the later games. But that was not the case in this game. This is actually... the third game was my best game as her. And I actually felt like I played okay as her for most of the game. I felt like I had a decent read on how she played. I shot a car. There we go. She pulsed a ficus. And I do think she is an interesting hero with a very interesting kit. I think she has some limitations. I don't think she's going to be like a meta-dominant hero. I just think she has a little too much weird interaction with the way some of her abilities go and the way some of her abilities work. I just think she's not as good as what I would have wanted with some of her abilities. Her ult, like I said, in the last part, I think is kind of hard to get really good value with outside of having something like a Malga ult or a Hazard ult that kind of gets people caught out. But I do think because of how quickly she gets, like you can see, I'm already in this clip. I don't even have a perk yet, and I've already used an ult once, right? Like that's pretty rare, I think, for most heroes in the game at this point in time. I think on average now you see more heroes like getting a perk and an ult around the same time. You can see I took the spread reduction one. I just think it makes her feel a lot better. And that is one of the things that I think is kind of important. That's the one I take. I don't know if we'll see it before I end this part of the section, but I also take the dart fire rate increase one. I just don't think the drone ones are as good. Now, I think there's a very good chance that if she gets time in pro play, it's going to be the exact opposite, and they're going to really take all the drone-based ones. My thing is, I think the drone... I think the drone is good. I think using it as an escape option is honestly not as good or as viable as I think it could be, because I think a lot of people just shoot it. I think people are, unfortunately, for me, people are finally learning how to shoot deployables. Unless it's an Ilari turret. Nobody wants to shoot those for some reason, but maybe it's because I'm not good at the game. Anyway, that's just my thought on where her kit is. I think she's pretty good. I think she'll be good at killing, like, your Pharas, your Jetpack Cats, ironically, your Echoes, heroes that are like flyers. If you can hit the tracking shot, she's really, really, really good at killing those heroes, especially once you get to that second perk and you get the increased fire rate. I mean, you can melt those kinds of heroes pretty effectively and just absolutely get rid of them from contention, from being a problem at all. So I think she is an interesting hero. I think she provides a really interesting angle to play. You're about to see my play of the game right here. This is play of the game, so it tells you how awful of a game it was. So this is a very interesting kit that I think has some fun in it. I just don't love her playstyle, but that obviously is subject to change. I think that there is a lot more potential fun. Like, just thinking back to Season 1, I didn't really think Emre was that fun. Like, I thought Emre was, like, kind of fun, but I, like, really like playing Emre, and I've been playing so much Anran, despite the fact she's kind of not very good. I've been really enjoying her. All of Season 1, I played her, like, I think I had 5 or... Well, this was, what, 9 weeks? I think I had 5 or 6 weeks in a row where I would get my Overwatch Weekly Rundown email, and Anran was my most played hero. I just really like Anran as a hero. I think she's very fun. And I don't know if I think Sierra will really kind of fill a role that I enjoy as much as like some an on-runner and Emre, but she's interesting, and I think adding a hero with this kind of mobility is very fun. I think it's an interesting dynamic for her kit. It makes her have something that is kind of unique. That kind of like I guess it's kind of similar to a Widow grapple in the sense that like you aim it somewhere and you use it, but it's also more flexible. You have more utility with it. There's a couple more uses with it. It also definitely has a shorter cooldown, so you can use it more often, which is nice. So I think she's fun. I definitely need more time as her before I have like a full this is 100% what I think she is or not opinion, but overall I think she is very fun. I think she's an interesting hero, and while I don't think she's in a like really, she's definitely, in my opinion, she was not a hero who was added overtuned. I think she is maybe a little bit weaker than she could be, but I still think she is pretty good, all things considered. So those are my thoughts on Sierra. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below where you agree and disagree with me. Of course, I would love to hear from you there, but that is going to be all from me for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more like it in the future, consider liking and subscribing. Your support is greatly appreciated, but that's going to be all. So thank you once again. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. Until next time, bye-bye!